Hi everybody, Erica Serwin here from Pink Buckaroo Designs. This week I'm making projects using the Piece of Cake stamp set and coordinating bundle that is new in the 2019 Stampin' Up! Occasions catalog. It's a really fun set that has lots of different choices for your cakes, and of course we always love a punch that coordinates with our stamped images. Now this card I've made by embossing the cake that I'm calling the drippy cake, the cake with the dripping icing. It's a fun little elegant card that would be great for any birthday. Even though it doesn't say happy birthday, it's got a fun cheeky sentiment. Cake is the answer. Who cares what the question is? I love that, and I would love to send that to one of my girlfriends. All right, well, let's get started. We're gonna start by stamping the drippy cake on shimmer white cardstock. We're gonna emboss this with white embossing powder. So before we stamp, we want to remember to take our embossing buddy and just rub it on there to kind of release any of that static electricity that may be on the paper that we don't want our white embossing powder to stick to. We want it to just stick to the cake image. And I am using Versamark, which will hold on to our embossing powder. It will stick to it, and let's get that white embossing powder on there. See how it holds on right there and it doesn't dry very quickly. So now we're going to take our heat tool, and the heat tool is going to turn that white embossing powder shiny. It may take about 15 or 20 seconds to get your heat tool to the right temperature. While you're using your heat tool, make sure that you wiggle it around. You don't want to hold it straight onto your paper because it is very hot and it can scorch your paper. So just move it around, and as soon as you start to see that white turn shiny, you know it's ready and it's doing its job. There we go. Doesn't take long once it hits that temperature. Now I am going to, the reason I use shimmer white is because I'm going to watercolor this. I'm going to actually leave the drippy part, the icing, I'm going to leave it white, and I'm going to color the cake pink. This is our In Color Powder Pink, and I'm going to use an aqua painter, and I'm just going to squirt a little tiny bit of water. I don't want a whole lot, just enough to kind of get my brush tip wet, and I'm going to come over here and color the cake. The embossed lines are going to keep the ink from going where we don't want it to go. It's kind of a barrier, and I'm just going to kind of move it around with the water in there like that. I love a pink cake. My favorite icing is white icing, just good old classic white icing on a classic cake. White cake, yellow cake, pink cake. I'll take any of them. So I kind of like this cake. You could color this any color. Maybe pink is too girly. You could do a light blue. You could do a purple, a yellow. There we go. Now you can see how that ink kind of stayed where it needed to be. It didn't go outside of those embossed lines. All right, let's move this out of the way. And while we let that dry for a few minutes, let's do our die cutting. We're going to use 2 of our layering circle framelits to make that white frame. And then we're going to use it again. We're going to use the big one to create that vellum background. The vellum just kind of softens it up and gives it, takes your eye right to where we want it to be, right at that cake. Now let's start with the smaller one. To create the frame, we're going to put the smaller circle on first. Really, you could do it either way. And then, whoops, we've got that circle and we don't need it. We're going to toss it to the side and save it for another project. Now take the larger circle and center it around that opening. You want to make sure it's centered and it's equal distance from all sides so that your ring will be not disproportioned. Let's see, there we go. There we've got our ring. Now we want to make a circle of vellum that's the same size as the outer circle. So we're going to use the biggest circle that we used to cut out our vellum circle. There we go. Set that aside, and while we have it here, let's cut out the little heart that I put on the cake. This is the little heart cluster framelit from the Be Mine stitched framelits, and you're going to have quite a few hearts when you're done with this one. Let's see if I'll just pick it up like that, and we'll save it for when we are done. That'll be the last thing we put on. All right, now we need to adhere this skinny little ring to that vellum circle. So I'm going to use my fine tip glue pen if I can get it open. And you don't need very much, just dab it. I'm not even squeezing, and I'm just going to kind of go around the outside of that vellum all the way around. Now before I do anything, I'm going to make sure that I put that pin back into the opening of my fine tip glue pen so that it doesn't dry out. All right, let's lay this carefully right there. Isn't that fun? Just real sweet and soft little element for your card. Okay, let's come back over and punch our cake. Now the cake, if you wanted to stamp the cake stand, you could do that, lining them up. I'm going to show you how to do that in another video. But all we're going to do is punch that cake, and it looks like I've got a little too much cardstock on the bottom. Won't fit all the way in the punch. So I will bring it down like this and punch that out. There's our cake. But I didn't want to use just a plain old cake stand. I wanted a silver glitter cake stand, so I'm using our silver glimmer paper. Now we've got some designer series paper here. I'm using a piece from a smoky slate piece that is, this is from the neutral stack of designer series paper, and I'm going to put that on first, and then I'm going to use another 3-inch piece. This one is much skinnier, and it is from the In Color Designer Series paper stack. This is powder pink, one of our In Colors, and I'm just going to put that right there in the middle. Now I'm going to use some dimensionals to put these on, and I think we can use a regular size dimensional for the cake, but we're going to need a mini dimensional or two for our cake stand. They're the right size. There we go. All right, we'll put that there, and that little cake right there. Isn't it so cute? All right, let's stamp those fun words. I'm going to actually bring over our hearts because I'm going to use this piece, if I can cut it out. We just need a scrap for the words. I'm going to stamp them in basic gray. And let's see, cake is the answer. So I'll put that one right there. And who cares what the question is? Now the reason I just need a scrap because all I'm going to do is just trim those off. All right, now cake is the answer. Whoops, we've got a little scrap there. We'll put that one right there. And who cares what the question is right down here. Now let's bring over one of those little hearts. Remember, we cut these hearts out, and I'm just going to stick that on with a glue dot. Right there. Now I want you to notice that I actually created a 3-tiered cake here. And for the video, I'm just going to do 2 tiers. But the way that you would do that is stamp 2 cakes and just cut that one out and make this, it's right here, and you cut it on that line right there to make the smaller parts put on top, okay? All right, now let's put our card together. I have a smoky slate card base. We're going to put a piece of basic gray there, and then I have embossed a piece of Whisper White with our scattered sequins embossing folder. We're going to put that one right there. And before we layer our things on here, I'm going to take a little bit of my Wink of Stella and my ink, and I'm going to flick that on there. It's going to give a little bit of shimmer and shine. And don't worry, because your Wink of Stella will go dry after you run it on a paper towel several times, okay? Now, to put this on, we're going to actually use dimensionals, but we're going to hide them on the back. So we'll put them right here so that you can't see them. And of course, right here on the cake. And we're going to put that right there. Now, last but not least, a few rhinestones. So I'm going to take my take your pick tool, get a little bit of that putty on the end, and pick those rhinestones right up and set them just kind of like they're scattered like the sequins. All right, and there you have it. A fun, elegant card using what I like to call the drippy cake stamp. Now, guys, make sure you hop back over to my blog. I've got this and 3 other projects from the Piece of Cake stamp set, and I have a full supply list on the PDF and those measurements that you'll need. All right, thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.